everybody, and welcome to IELTS Live Thursdays. So we've had a couple of weeks off due to the Easter holiday here in the UK, and now I'm starting again. And if you are one of those students who's doing really well with your reading and listening, but your speaking and writing seem to be dragging their feet and hanging behind, then you need to watch this video, because I want to do two things. I want to explain why that happens, and secondly, I just want to give you some ideas about what you can do by yourself in order to try and improve these two skills, writing and speaking. So let's have a look first about these two skills. You've heard me talk about it before, and you know that speaking and writing are both what we call productive skills. So to my mind, these are the test of your English, more so than the writing and the reading, because the primary aspect of any language is being able to use it in speaking. And so if your speaking is hanging behind, then you are not a really good user. And in order to demonstrate the fact that you are a good user of English, you need to be able to speak well. That means fluently, spontaneously, with a wide range of vocabulary and sentence structure, etc. You need to be able to make yourself understood in any different scenario. And that's what the speaking tests. With the writing, that's a little bit different, because for most people, writing is the last of the language skills that they will start to learn. And that's in any language, because normally you speak first and listen first, then you learn to read, then you learn to write. So it's quite natural that the writing will fall behind. However, in IELTS, you need all four skills at the same level in order to get a 7 or a 7.5 or an 8. You have to have all your skills going well. So that means do not start with reading and listening and spend weeks and weeks and weeks on that and ignore speaking and writing. That's the primary reason why many students get behind. You have to start with all four skills together, because reading and writing are connected. Speaking and listening are connected. And if you do one, it will help the other. So your listening will help your speaking, and your speaking will help your listening. Your reading will help your writing, and your writing will help your reading. So it's really important when you start on the IELTS route that you make sure you cover all four tests. So that's the main reason that they fall behind, because people leave speaking and writing till last. The second reason that they fall behind is because these are productive, active skills. That means when you do them, you're communicating with other people. You can't speak to yourself. I mean, you can, but it's not a natural thing to do. You need to have other people to speak to. And if you don't have this, then your speaking is not going to develop. Writing, again, is for other people. You're writing for an audience, namely the examiner. If you don't start by writing for an audience, then you're just going to be writing for yourself, and you've no way of knowing if your writing makes sense, if your ideas are coming across, if it's sophisticated enough. So that's the other thing that stops people from getting a high score in writing and speaking. They don't speak to other people, and they don't get their writing checked. So that's what you need to do straight away, is to find somebody who you can practice speaking with and somebody who can check your writing. Okay, before I go on, I just want to have a quick look and see if anybody's asking any questions. No? Okay. So if you're watching this after and you have any questions throughout this short presentation, then just put them in the comments and I will come and answer them for you. So let's move on. So first of all, I want to start with the speaking. And what I'm going to do very briefly in this live today is to give you some things that you can do by yourself. Now, I will reiterate that in terms of speaking and writing, you should not be doing it by yourself. You should be practicing with other people for the speaking, and you should get somebody that knows what they're doing in IELTS to correct your writing. Without those two things, you're going to struggle to get a high band in speaking and writing. So let me just say that again, because it's important. However, there are some things that you can do by yourself to help to develop these skills. So in the speaking, let's look at part 1. You can look for typical questions and think about the answers that you might give to those questions. You imagine if you got that question, how would you respond? And you can actually do it with a friend. One is the examiner, the other is the student, then you swap. If you haven't got anybody at all to practice with, and that is a dangerous position to be in if you want a high band, but if you haven't, then you need to record it and listen to it and be critical. Okay, and always repeat, repeat, repeat. That's how you improve things like pronunciation, improving the vocabulary, etc. A lot of language is about repeating and repeating and making it better. In part 2, you can do this very well by yourself. In fact, part 2, you don't necessarily need to have somebody else there to practice unless you're able to get good feedback from somebody. Get a topic, record it. Practice it first, then record it. Listen to the recording, criticize it, think about how you can make it better, record it again. And do it with the same topic. Maybe 3 times, 4 times. I've had students who've done it up to 10, 11, 12 times, and each time it was better and better. And the more you do this, the better it will become. But it's important to record the same topic more than once. Otherwise, there's no point. You have to repeat and improve. And then do it with a different topic. Okay, part 3. Do what you did for part 1. Look for typical questions. Work on more advanced vocabulary and structures. This is where you need your modal verbs. This is where you need your conditional sentences. This is where you need your more developed answers in part 3. You're going to be asked about the future. You're going to be asked to imagine things. You're going to be asked about your opinion on things. You're sometimes going to be asked to compare the present with the past, or the present with the future, or maybe even the past, the present, and the future. So you're going to have to be able to manipulate those different tenses for expressing things in past, in present, and in future, and comparing them with each other. So there's quite a lot of sophisticated language needs to go into your part 3 practice. Try to make your answers more sophisticated. Record, listen. How can I make that more academic or more erudite, if you know what that means? Or how can I make it more formal? Think about all these things. Okay, and then imagine yourself being in the exam and giving your absolutely tip-top answer to the question. Remember, this is a performance. You have to demonstrate to the examiner that you are worthy of a band 7 or a band 8. And if you don't make an effort to do that, you're not going to get those scores. So you have to put in a lot of effort into how you answer the questions. Okay, do record everything, listen. What does it sound like? Can you improve it? And all of this can be done by yourself. Okay, let's talk about practice. Yes, the more you do it, the better it gets. That's absolutely certain, no doubt. The more you do, the better it gets. Where you focus on things, they improve. Many of you will have had this experience. where you've maybe not done well in your listening in your test, so then you've really focused on the listening in your next preparation part, and the next test you took, your listening went up. So where you focus improves, but you have to focus on everything in order to get those high scores across the board. Okay, so you have to practice these a lot. If you leave it till the week before the exam, there is not enough time, absolutely not enough time to practice these properly. So start at the beginning. You cannot do this through osmosis. You cannot do this through looking at YouTube, through listening to lessons online, through reading blog posts, through looking at all the websites that give you advice. That will not help you improve your speaking or your writing. They have to be actively practiced. It's got to be active. It cannot be passive. And I cannot say this as many times as I would like. It's really important that you practice, practice, practice. Not YouTube, not websites, not blog posts, not even what I'm telling you here. This is just telling you how, but you must do it in order for the how to be effective in your practice. Okay, and it takes time. It really does take time. I mean, the minimum time I work with students on writing is 4 weeks, and that's for students that are almost at their grade, at their band. If you're not almost at your band, it's going to take longer. Okay, let's move on to the writing. So the first thing I would say is look at models. Now make sure that you're looking at models and not samples from other students, because if you want band 7 and 8, you need to be looking at native speaker models, or certainly at good teacher models or examiner models, because that is your aim. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be able to write like a native speaker examiner, perhaps not, but that's what you're aiming at. And what you do with the models is you look at the language that's being used. You don't copy them. So look at teacher models, look at examiner models. Look at the style they use. Look at how it's organized. Look at the vocabulary they use and take some of that vocabulary and try it out yourself. Look at the cohesion. How do the sentences flow one from another? How do the paragraphs work? Look at where there's a reference back to a previous point, or it might be a previous point in the previous paragraph even. But look at how all of the ideas gel. How does the writer do that? And then copy those types of linking words and devices. Try out some of the vocabulary. When I work with students, they often say, I like that word. I say, okay, use it. Use it 2-3 times, and if it starts to work in your writing, then remember it and use it in the exam. The same is true of new sentence structures and different devices for complex sentences. Find them, learn them, use them, get them checked. If they work, use them again. Repeat, repeat, repeat. I cannot say this enough about language learning. I've been a language teacher. My very first lesson as a language teacher in English was in 1977. It's a long time ago. And I know that the best way of improving is by repeating and repeating. Repetition is part of how we learn language from a very tiny baby. Okay, in the task 1 academic, look at charts and graphs in newspapers. If you find a newspaper, could be an online newspaper, look at the business pages. They often have these little graphs with a short explanation. That's the kind of language you need. Looking at real things for models helps you understand what's going on here and what you're expected to do. The same with letters. Look at letters, look at real letters that have been sent to a newspaper, an online newspaper, because that's the kind of thing that you're being asked to write. Look at other kinds of letters. You know, you'll find lots of examples if you're just a little bit creative about where you go to look. And don't copy them. Use them as models. Use them to take vocabulary from. Use them to see how they're organized. Use them to take some sentence structures. And then you put these things into your own writing and you practice, practice, practice until they become second nature to you. And believe you me, because I work on writing every day with students, and I know from the students that I've worked with over all the years I've done IELTS that many of them, when they get to the exam, they look at the question, they know exactly what they're going to say. They don't have any problems thinking of ideas, thinking about how to do it. And that's all as a result of lots of practice and lots of learning about vocabulary, sentence structure. Purpose in these types of writing is also important. So as much research on real models as you can do will help you. Okay, practice for writing. Try new things. So if you see a word in a model, try it out. You can't possibly use it unless you've tried it. And ideally get some feedback so that you know you're using it correctly. Don't try anything new in the exam. That's an absolute rule. In your practice, you try all kinds of things and then you'll settle on the language that you know you're going to use in the exam because you can write it without mistake and it's comfortable for you to use. And you know from your feedback that you're absolutely right in the words and the sentence structures you've chosen. But never, never, never try anything new in the exam. Nothing at all. Even doing the reading in a different order, never do it in the exam. If you want to try these things out, if you think they might be better for you, then try them first in your preparation time, not in the exam. Okay. So think about new phrases, think about new grammar, think about new vocabulary. Keep trying things and then soon you'll build up a bank of these items that you like to use, that you know you can use well, and you know will get you a high score. Good feedback, ideally from somebody who knows what they're doing, which would be an IELTS teacher. That is the very best thing to do. So when you get this feedback, then you know what's good. And you know what's just not working, and if it's not working, just ditch it. Don't bother with it because it's only going to cause you problems. So only use what you do, what you write that is good and is going to get you that high score. And this is how you develop your writing. Try things. If they work, keep trying them. If they don't work, leave them. If you really want to try and work that vocabulary, then try it again later and see if it works then. But if something's just not working for you, if you keep getting it wrong, just forget it. There are plenty of other words, plenty of other structures. Okay, and find people to study with. So there are lots of Facebook groups, Skype groups, Zoom groups. Find some friends who are at the same level, who want the same bands. Or create your own. If you really are sitting there today without anybody to practice with, well, the onus is on you to try and find some friends or other students to study with. Or join my IELTS Champions Club. I started IELTS Champions Club just over a year ago, and we've now had 5 students who've all got their scores and moved on. And the next batch are about to take their exam soon, and hopefully they will get their score and move on. And I'm talking here about people that need band 7s and 8s. They all need band 7s and 8s in their exam. And one after another is now moving towards those levels and getting their exam. So I'll put a link to the IELTS Champions Club and you can find out more about it, what it involves, what you can do there. But I can tell you, you can find people to speak to, and you can also get feedback on your writing from me, either in the group, which is on Facebook, in our study sessions, which are on Zoom, or in our weekly lives, which are done in the Facebook group as well. And in addition to that, you get a whole course called IELTS Step by Step, which covers every part of IELTS. So there's a lot there for you to study, and it's all been developed by me from my experience, both as an IELTS teacher and a trainer, and also as an IELTS examiner. So what's not to like, hey? And very important, try to make your language practice a part of your daily life. So if you just spend 5 minutes on your speaking or 5 minutes on your writing, looking for new vocabulary, practicing a quick 2 or 3 speaking questions, those 5 minutes a day will be very well spent. Okay, that's all I have to say for today. Hello, Saraj, welcome. I hope that's helpful for you. So if you have any comments or any questions or need to know anything specific about your IELTS, please put comments in the underneath the video, and I will put the link to the IELTS Champions Club, and you're welcome to join at any time. It's an ongoing club, and you just drop in. You can join for a month, you can join for a year, it's up to you. Okay, thank you for watching this short session, and I'll see you next week in IELTS Live Thursday. Bye everybody.